All right, welcome to another episode of Connect and Politic. We're here with a special guest. Please introduce yourself by telling us your name, where you're currently located, and your favorite snack.
Favorite snack. Okay. My name is Foluso, I'm currently located in Lagos, in Nigeria. My favorite snack. This is dried mango snack that I absolutely love. It's by real fruit. So yeah, that's my current favorite snack. Is dried mangoes. Yummy.
Is it like a special brand or do you?
Yeah, it's a
Okay,
Nigerian brand. So
nice,
I buy it
nice,
in the supermarket. Yeah.
nice. What's your fondest memory from childhood?
Fondest memory from childhood. I would say actually is so when I was growing up and we lived in a place called Festa. This was way before Lagos got. I mean, Lagos was busy then, but it wasn't quite, I guess, as crazy as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
We had a huge park in front of our house. It was humongous, and the kids could go out every day and play in the park, walk around our neighborhood, walk to our neighbors' houses. It was fantastic. Like pretty much everyone on our street that had kids, we knew and we were friends with them. And that's one of my favorite memories because I remember that even before we moved away from that house, they had already converted the park into a building because, land became so expensive. So the recreational places, started getting converted into, like commercial buildings, which was very, very annoying. But yeah, that's one of my favorite memories, just having all that space and all that childhood
Nice,
playground and stuff.
nice. And are you still in touch with all the kids from the neighborhood?
So yeah, so I'm in touch with some of them, not all, but some of them, yeah. They actually all live, like we all now live in different parts of the world. So yeah, we do keep
Nice.
in touch. Yeah.
So, how do you think your childhood helped groom you into the person you are today?
Hmm. Oh goodness. I think my childhood definitely plays a huge role in who I am today. I mean, there are many reasons. So one huge one off the top of my head that I remember is when I was younger. Okay, so I'm the first of four children. And when I was younger, I was very timid. I wasn't shy, but I wasn't very bold. And I was also a bit of a fraidy cat. So I used to be afraid of like the weirdest things, like marbles would scare me. Like I don't even understand like why marbles like marbles would scare me. Anyway, so I remember when I was in primary school, which I think is equivalent of elementary school. I'm not even sure in the US,
Yeah.
but anyway, I was in the last year of primary school, and my teacher was so horrible. Oh my goodness, she was a complete nightmare. Like I feel like everything inside of me that I would ever have dreaded, this
Uh,
woman was, and she was so mean to me. Like she used to like single me out, along with like two or three other boys in the class, and just completely just make our lives miserable. Like she would punish us, she would send us to the head of the school because we got into some trouble. Now the weird thing is that I don't even remember like what exactly it was that I was doing. And I remember then even thinking, why is this woman like, why is she, what's that word I'm looking for? Like there's a word for it, I don't remember. But anyway, why does she keep on like singling me out and just kind of like try to make my life miserable? And I remember even like my mom had to get involved at some point. My mom had to come to the school and talk to the head of the school and was like, we don't know why this woman is, doing this to this girl. But you're making her life horrible. Like I never wanted to go to school. I used to have a tummy ache every time because I was so scared of going to school. But you know what's interesting is that in retrospect, I think that experience actually developed a lot of grit within me because after that experience, like I was no longer like crazy cat, scared to talk. Like I became a lot colder. And so what I take from that whole entire experience is even though it was horrible, I was able to develop a part of me that I didn't even know existed. And I became definitely filled with grit, which I think is very important, for living in the world. I got a lot of grit from that experience. And I just got a lot of, resilience as well. So yeah, that's one of my interesting experiences as a child.
nice, nice. And do you even know this lady, the teacher? Are you still know her?
Unfortunately, she passed away. I think like 2 years ago. So yeah, I knew her like from around town and stuff. But yeah, knew her. I don't even think that even she had like a valid reason. I think she was probably going through stuff at the time. So you know the way it is, like when people are going through stuff,
Yep.
I think that now that I'm an adult, I see adults going through stuff and how it affects, like the children and people around them. So I think it was simply just that she was going through stuff and she was just ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah.
What's something in your life that you're not willing to live without?
That I'm not willing to live without.
Correct.
Something like an actual like thing.
It could be a thing. It could be people. It could be a philosophy. It could be an idea.
Oh, God, totally God. I'm not willing to live without my faith for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And what are your favorite things to do for self-care?
For what? Self-care?
Yep.
Oh my God, a massage. Like, I'm so mad about this lockdown because I have not gotten a massage in weeks. Totally a massage, like just the whole experience, of getting into a really beautiful smelling room with all the aromatic oils and the music and just getting that massage. Oh yeah, totally. That is one self-care thing that I absolutely love and I have missed greatly. Yeah.
Nice. Any a special type of massage? Deep tissue, shiatsu. There's a bunch of
whatever, man.
Aromatherapy,
whatever it is. Just give it to me. I don't care. Like whatever.
Nice. What motivates you?
What motivates me? I think my purpose largely. I think that since I started walking more intentionally and living like a more intentional life, I'm definitely daily motivated by my purpose. So even when things are happening around me and they don't make any sense and work is crazy or whatever is crazy, I always kind of go back to that place where I remember why I'm here, and that definitely keeps me motivated.
And what would you say, what is your purpose?
Okay, so let me give you the very abridged version, umbrella version of my purpose, right? So a huge part of what I believe that God created me for is to encourage other people to be the best version of themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And so what that means for me is even when I am literally I'm attending an event, like a conference or a seminar, and I meet somebody, I'm the kind of person that, will kind of get you talking and ask you questions about what you do, asking you okay, why are you doing what you're doing? Are you enjoying it? I'm trying to get you to see the big picture behind what you're doing. So instead of saying, oh, I'm an engineer and I hate my job, I will get you to see why, as an engineer in that job, your purpose is actually more important than the fact that your profession is engineering, right? So for instance, I've met people who work in an organization that's really crazy, stressful, high energy. And these people are very nurturing people. You know what I mean? They're the kind of people that everybody goes to their desk and vents and rants and says this job is driving me crazy. And that person doesn't realize that that is actually the bigger reason behind why they're there, as opposed to just getting the job done. You know what I mean? So the fact that you're a nurturing engineer is a great thing. So a lot of people don't want to connect things engineering and nurturing, because engineering feels you should be this boss, this. But really the core of who you are, your personality, your strengths and all that, are actually the core of why you're there. So I usually get a lot of people to kind of see deeper than the reason why they think they're somewhere. I'm here and I'm doing this job, but kind of seeing the deeper reason behind it. And that reason actually ends up being the reason that they stand out. So instead of being just every other engineer in your company or every other accountant, what exactly is it about you being there that makes it any different?
Yeah, nice. So we have to get you a global stage so you can expand.
Yeah, let's do it.
We have to take this global.
Yeah.
So what do you do in your professional life, and how did you get to where you are?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's an interesting question. Okay, so I studied computer science, we were in school together. And then I got a master's in management information systems. So I'm essentially an IT person. I've worked in information technology my whole entire career. However, I've worked in different industries. So I've worked in telecommunications, I've worked in fast-moving consumer goods, I've worked in the financial services industry, and right now I'm in the oil and gas industry. So all through all these different jobs, I've been a technology person. So right now, I'm in charge of our technology where I work, and also our business processes. And so that's pretty much what like I've done like for the past few years. Just obviously I've kind of risen, and grown like over the years. So that's the core of what I've done. And even outside of my profession, it's something that I'm still passionate about. Like I'm really passionate about how technology can bring like social change and can help people become better people, make them more effective at what they do, help nations and countries, and all that. So I spend quite a lot of my time even doing like things outside of work that are technology related.
Nice, nice. What would you say is the riskiest thing you've done in your professional life?
The riskiest?
Yes.
I guess quit my job without having another one in line. Wait, like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. How did you get to that? Yeah, go.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a job that was really stressful. Like, I feel like that job took everything out of me. And so when I left the job, I didn't have anything lined up. And it was intentional. Like, I said to myself that I wasn't going to work for 6 months. I needed to recoup. Like, I just needed to just reset from all the craziness and all the stress of that job. And so, yeah, I would say that's probably the riskiest thing I've ever done career-wise, because I didn't have anything at all lined up. I wasn't even having any discussions with anybody about getting a job and all that. So yeah, it was just kind of like, you know what, I'm done. I need to take this break. And I remember my husband then kind of looking at me like, oh, okay, so what's your plan? And I'm like, I don't have a plan. I'm planless. There's no plan here. Yeah.
So given that you didn't have a plan, and how did you get back into it?
So it's actually a very interesting story. It's a bit long, so I'll try to do the short version. Essentially, I got offered a job like out of nowhere by somebody that was really unexpected. And I remember getting the job offer and thinking to myself, I don't want to work right now. I gave myself 6 months, and I think I got offered this job maybe by like the second month. And I was like, no, I'm not working until January. Like, no, leave me alone. And then the first job offer was so bad that I was like, see, this confirms it. Even God doesn't want me to take this job offer because this offer is so ridiculous. So I didn't want to take it. And then I got a better offer from them. And, after much back and forth, I then took the job, but I gave myself like an extra additional 2 months. So instead of my 6 month break, I got home.
Nice. Good.
Mm-hmm.
What's one thing you would love to learn but you haven't gotten to yet?
Oh my goodness. One thing. Now, the first thing that comes into my mind, professional-wise, is finance. Like, I have been telling myself that I need to learn and get deeper into finance. So, not just like the surface level stuff, but understand a bit more about finance. That's one thing that honestly, it always jumps up in my head because I've been saying it for quite a long time now, but I hope that this year I'm able to make a lot more progress. The other thing, embarrassingly, is swimming. I don't know how to swim. I still don't know how to swim. Like, I don't need your judgment. Judge me not. And even my daughters laugh at me. They're like, Mommy, you can't swim. And I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Can they swim?
Oh, yeah, they can.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, okay, so finance and swimming. And when you say finance, you mean personal finance or?
No, so just kind of like, like financial management, like professional-wise. So reading books, understanding how the company's doing, understanding the key indicators, like, so what makes the company unhealthy, what makes the company healthy, what makes the company liquid, what kind of numbers or things should I look out for when I'm looking at a company's financials. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that later as well. There are a lot of great tools and resources that you can access. And just take little steps. Because, especially with finance, I think a lot of the barriers has to do with the jargon.
Yeah.
So, if you and I, like, if I were to explain some of it to you just using, I don't know, like something about a banana stand in the market, and just using regular language, you would completely understand it. But once when you start reading, literature and these finance books, or even listening to some analysts speak,
Yeah.
jargon they're using is so disconnected from, the reality. And so it just seems confusing. You just like, you know what? I'll get
Totally
back to this
agree.
later. So that's what
Later, like
usually
I
happens.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Agree.
we'll talk about it later.
Great. I would love that. Okay.
Yeah. Uh, can you think of any advice that you would give your younger self?
My younger self. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things that I would definitely tell my younger self. I've actually written about quite a lot of them before. But I think at this moment, I think I would tell my younger self that. So I was speaking to one of my much younger friends today. She's about 10 years younger than I am. And I was saying to her that I think one thing that young people both realize that they have, but also take advantage of it is time, right? So you think that because you're young, you have all this time and, though you know that life is short, you still think that you have time. So it's like a weird thing, right? Because you know that you don't really have time, but you don't take the time that you have seriously. So I definitely would tell my younger self that you do have time, but you also don't have time. So those things that you keep procrastinating on, just get them done. Yeah. So there's so many things that I procrastinated on when I was younger, and now I'm just like, what? Like, I had all that time. I didn't have any kids. I wasn't married. I wasn't, like leadership at an organization. So I actually had a bit more flexibility. I was living in my parents' house. I mean, there's so much that I could have done in that time that I just didn't do. And so I think it's really, you have time, but you also don't have time. So don't just stop procrastinating. Stop saying that, you'll start saving tomorrow. Stop saying you get this done tomorrow. You go here tomorrow. I just get stuff done. Because you actually will probably never have as much time as when you were younger. Just because you have less responsibilities. Like, people are not attached to you, for their livelihood. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, well, some people have that, but I didn't have that. So for me, definitely it would be about time.
Yeah. And then, to piggyback on that, throughout your years, what's the best advice you've received?
The best advice I've received. I think from my dad, I would say, don't take no for an answer. So don't ever think that because somebody said no, you can't keep pushing. So negotiate everything essentially, like just keep negotiating, like don't stop. And I think that, so when he gave me that advice, I'm pretty sure that I rolled my eyes at him. Because my dad was, he was so good at negotiating. And some of the things that he would negotiate was actually embarrassing for me as a child. I'm like, Dad, are you really doing that? Like, really? But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, why? What's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. What has been the toughest thing you've had to tackle, and what helped you get through it?
The toughest thing I've had to tackle, I would say, is being a new mom and having a very stressful job and just a very stressful work environment as a new mom, and having to upskill really quickly because I had a job that I didn't necessarily have all the skills for at the time. And what helped me, honestly, is support systems. And I say this thing all the time about building your support system. It's so important, I think, if you really are a woman or a man who's about something and trying to, achieve your purpose and, get stuff done in your life, you cannot underestimate the power of support systems. So with your spouse, with your parents, if you still have them, with your neighbors, with your kids, friends, parents, all the people around you that essentially helps to make your life easier. So if you can't pick up your kids from school, can somebody help you? If your kids can't be in the house, can they go somewhere else? So all those things that kind of just make you have an easier life and not having to freak out when you're at work and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely that. I think a supportive spouse is 100% of everything, because I think it's very, very difficult for you to become all that you were created to be if you don't have a supportive spouse.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to add to that. That might be a part 2,
a different
part
topic.
3.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All right. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
Yeah.
Many things make me happy. Food makes me happy. Hello, dessert, chocolate, traveling. hanging out with my family, all those things make me happy. Many, many, many things make me happy. But I think, like from a deeper level, I think the things that really genuinely make me happy is seeing people thrive in being themselves. So I have a serious problem with so many things right now. I have a problem with like the way that people are portraying themselves on social media, and just in general. I feel like a lot of people are having a hard time being themselves because they feel like this is who I'm supposed to be, as opposed to who I really am. So everything from skin lightening to butt enhancement to the hair to it's everything. Like people literally hate themselves. And maybe because I have two daughters, I find it very disturbing. I'm so disturbed by it. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you all look the same.
Yeah.
Why do you all look the same? That's not cute. And so that really, 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 really bothers me. I don't even remember the question that you asked me.
No.
But it really bothers me.
This is a good tangent. Keep going.
Like, so I love it when I see people who are just thriving in being themselves. Like, this is who I was created to be. Love it or hate it, this is who I am. I'm not saying I don't have issues. I'm not saying I don't have weaknesses. But my strengths are this, and this is who I am. So I'm not trying to fit into the mold of what, a typical, this person like me should be. I'm just trying to be myself and be the best version of me. I feel like whenever I meet or see people like that, it makes me so happy because I feel like, yes, you're doing what you were created to do. You're not trying to be like everybody else, you're just doing what everybody else is doing. Because it's really, really, really crazy and scary too.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And so when you meet those people, a couple of questions. One, do you feel like, well, one, do you acknowledge it, verbally, to let them know? That's one. And then two, when you reflect on it, do you think it's something that is innate to them or is something that they learn, along the way or acquire along the way?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that it's innate. I think it's learned. I think that when you are growing up in an environment that doesn't support you, like, so how you look, your personality, how you are, just all those things. I think it does become like normal to just constantly be feeding yourself with negative thoughts and negative voices. So even when people are taken out of those environments, they're still kind of conditioned to think the worst of themselves. And that's why you find people who are like much older and they are struggling for stuff, and you're like, why? But I feel like for a lot of people, it's that voice, from when they were children, especially, that made them feel like they weren't good enough. Either you weren't good enough in school, somebody said that you were ugly, somebody said that your skin was a certain way, your hair was a certain way, like all those things that are just things that kind of stick with people forever. Like, so from childhood to adulthood, it kind of just sticks.
Yeah.
Also, I think people who might also have grown up in financial circumstances that weren't very great, I think a lot of them sometimes feel like they need to prove something. So I find this a lot in Africa, especially. Like, you guys might not experience it as much out there, but I see people who are like, everything that they grew up with that made them who they are, they suddenly don't want their children to experience that. So what made you who you are is that grit, right? Like, you experiencing things that built resilience and strength and grit, and now you want your children to be the complete opposite. And I'm like, there's no way that makes any sense, because first of all, if you build a business, they're going to squander the money because they don't even know the value of money. So all the things that were important for you to get to where you are, why is that suddenly so bad? But I think it's also because people don't think. So I have a theory. I don't think that people think, especially in the environment that I'm in. No, we don't think. People don't think. Let me tell you, people don't think, Mike. They don't think, because if you like sat down and you thought, like you really thought about stuff, there's so many things that people would not do.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people just go with we kind of just go with what everybody else is doing. So if you see everybody buying this car, ooh, let's all buy this car. Like, you don't ask yourself, does this car make any sense for the environment that I live in? Does it make sense for the weather? There's questions that we just don't ask ourselves because we just want to do so to be accepted, it's easier to just do what everybody else is doing as opposed to thinking. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there's so much in there to unpack, which could take a day. But the whole point you made about people not thinking, it's such a big piece. Because even when I was, you know, a couple years ago when I was in Lagos, I remember I wore shorts, right? And it was in the summertime, and Fred, I think even Leia said, was like, Mike, what are you doing? You know, like, because like everyone's gonna see you from a mile away, knowing that you're not from here. You know, like, and I was like,
Oh, really?
yeah, because I was like,
But
guys,
it's hot.
hot, like, not even that's not even an understand. I mean, and then you see people in wool three-piece suits and this and that, like, and so it was just one of those things that it just struck me. I was like, wow, yeah, people really.
Yeah,
This is just it's hard to think appropriately for the context that you're in. A lot of times.
exactly. Yep.
Um,
Yep, totally.
so if you won the lottery tomorrow, what will you do?
Mhm. How much? Depends on how much.
Let's
Like,
say
monopoly
700
money.
million. 700
700 what million?
million US dollars.
Naira or dollar? Wow! Oh wow! What? If I won the lottery and I won $700 million, or there's so many things I would do. So the first thing that I would do is definitely think. Because I think that people don't think when they win the lottery and just kind of get excited. So I'll think about a few things. I'm really super passionate about just helping disadvantaged people, especially children, right? So giving them the skills that they need to thrive so that they can bring their families up out of poverty and all that good stuff. So a few years ago, two friends and I started a foundation called Serving with Love Foundation, and we have a digital life after school program, which is essentially to help children in underserved communities, get digital skills that they need to thrive. So I will definitely build this center that I've been praying for money to build all this while and put it like all over the country and make sure that it has the ability to do what we need it to do, which is really to help these kids get opportunities that they would never have gotten any other way. Because I really believe that, so if you can educate like a child who lives in serious poverty and get them out of that place, they will help their whole entire community. Like it's just like a no-brainer. Yep. People would always go back and help people, especially when they've been helped, because they understand that they were fortunate and it didn't have to be done. So I think for me, like off the top of my head, that's like, wow, because we've been trying to raise money for that and it's not very easy, as you can imagine. So I would definitely do that.
Nice. If you knew you had 24 hours left, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that you wish you would have done? So there's only 24 hours left, and now you're reflecting on your life essentially. And what are the things that you're like, wow, I wish I had 10 more years, because then I would be able to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I think I would definitely wish that I didn't procrastinate on certain things. Because I have definitely procrastinated on a few things that I should have done, like important things. So I think all those things would definitely come to mind, and I would probably, knowing myself, I would stretch 24 hours into like 48 hours, because I think that, a day is more than 24 hours, and I would just try to get it all
done. Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so for the last question, how do you define success?
Ooh, I love that question. First of all, for me, success is achieving my purpose. I tell you, like, if I could look back in 40, let me see, how old am I now? Like, when I'm 80, that I was able to do the things that God created me to do, for me, that's success. So I feel like if you bring value, you're going to make money, right? So for me, it's never really about, having all this money. It's usually about the value that you bring and doing those things that you were created to do. And so for me, that's what success is. Success is being able to say, I literally used every great gift and talent that I had, and I was able to do all the things that I was created to do, sort of.
Nice. Well, we connected, we politicked, and we will definitely do this again in the near future.
Yes. So fun. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.